Hi, everyone, and welcome to the last Love Talks of the month of love, February. And I have relationship navigator Nicole Haley joining me tonight, and we're going to get into a delicious discussion all about the masculine and the feminine. And what I'm going to do is give everyone a few minutes to hop on. We can see as you come on this evening. And when you do, say hello and where you're from. So I'll touch base with you throughout the evening to see if you have any questions about tonight's show. But we'll give it a few minutes for people to hop on before we dive into what's going to be, I think, a really interesting conversation because how about you, Nicole? I think there's a lot of, we've got a hello, Nicole, from Alan McQueen.
Hey, darling. Hi.
Where is she here? There she is. Fantastic. Welcome, welcome. Let us know where you are saying hello from as you hop on to tonight's episode of Love Talks. My name is Andrea Hill. I'm the host. Love Talks is a series of talks that I do every February with industry professionals, experts, sexperts, and the like as we discuss different topics that influence your dating, relationship, romantic, and love life. And we've had some really great conversations this month. We talked about sexual empowerment, we've talked about self-love, and now we're diving into the hot topic of the feminine and the masculine. So as you hop on, don't be shy to let us know where you're from. Give us a holla. And we will dive into the conversation right away here. So you know who I am. I'm a dating mentor and I'm also a love coach. I have my business, which is my programs Create Your Love Story, is Date by Design. And of course, I'm the founder and chief romantic facilitator of The Dinner Party, which is a fantastic dating service in Vancouver, British Columbia, which is where you find Nicole and I tonight. Nicole, I am going to hand it over to you, the professional, to let everyone know all about you and what you do.
Sure. All right. Welcome. Super exciting to have you all. And I am what I call a love or relationship navigator. I love helping men and women really navigate understanding the opposite sex better so that they can really attract and keep that relationship that they want. And a lot of times I find that the more we want something, we uncover what's really blocking us. And I really like figuring out why we keep choosing the same people over and over again, or those same experiences happening over again, and really uncovering some of the patterns, some of the belief systems around why that's happening, as well as really understanding the opposite sex. And so we'll kind of dive into that tonight, really understanding how men and women think and what this feminine and masculine energy really has to do with your love life. Because it's a hot topic, and a lot of times we don't even really know what it means, but it's these words that get thrown around all the time. And so we're really going to dive into that so you can get a sense of how that's going to play into your world and your love life.
Well, let's just go right ahead and do that then. So, you know, we think of the feminine and we think woman. And we think of the masculine and we think man, but that's not really the case. These are energies that we embody, both these energies in either gender. So why don't you dive in and give us an understanding of what the feminine and the masculine truly are?
Yeah, it's a great question. So like you were saying, we embody both of those masculine and feminine aspects of who we are. And I think sometimes we get boxed into thinking that just that feminine is woman, and like vice versa with the masculine is the men. The reality is we need both and we operate on both, but sometimes they're imbalanced. And so let's explain a little bit of that masculine, because it'll come up a lot tonight. So masculine energy is this sense of like driven, goal-oriented task. It's very linear focused. It's really got a lot of ambition behind it. It's the energy that gets, like what I say, shit done. And as women, we have that. It's probably what got you where you are in your life right now, whether it's in your career, whether it's in your business, maybe it's because you're a single mom and you really had to take on that leadership role and really make things happen. And so that is in us. And what is the opposite and what we have as well is this feminine energy. And this feminine energy is a lot about being in the moment. It's a lot of like heart-based, it's centered, it's intuition, it's flow, it's very receptive, it's all about receiving. And I think sometimes we don't realize the power of this feminine energy. And sometimes we think it's kind of all about being weak, when in fact it is actually really a powerful aspect.
Yes, absolutely. And for the feminine, it's the nurturing and the sensitivity and the softness. And we think soft and we think weak, we think hard, we think strong. So we're kind of influenced with these mentalities as we grow up. Men in particular, as they grow up, they're taught not to be emotive, and that is a sign of weakness. That's actually articulated to many of them. So they build sort of this heavy masculine energy. And then as women, we've learned that in order to sort of make it in a man's world, that we need to embody this energy as well, to push, to strive, to work that much harder, to maybe get recognized for certain positions, or even drive our own businesses. So we're talking about romance tonight, so let's lead that into how that starts to show up in our emotional lives, in our romantic lives.
Totally, and I really love what you said. You need that energy. Oh, I'm echoing. So good. And so I think that's really important. And what happens though, when we want to move it into our love life, we need to learn how to, like what I call, turn down the masculine and turn up the feminine. And that is in order so we aren't repelling. So think of this as like you have two of the exact same energies or two of the same magnets. They automatically, or naturally I should say, repel. Right? If you have two of the same positive energies, they're going to repel. And so what happens is, as women, if we're in this masculine energy all the time from our work environment and kind of being accustomed that that's what is going to be desirable, we're actually repelling the type of men, if we're looking for that strong alpha, take the initiative, take the leadership type of man, we actually are repelling him away from us without realizing it. You may have experienced men with pulling away, withdrawing. You may hear comments like, I just don't connect with you. I just didn't resonate with you. I just don't feel it. Those are a lot of the comments that you may hear is if we're in our masculine energy and we're trying to attract this masculine alpha male. And so that tends to do this like shifting away instead of a coming together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, absolutely. I think where we can probably be of most service to people tonight is not only providing clarity about what these two energies really embody and how they show up in their lives, but also that it's not gender-based. Because you're a woman, you don't need to fully, if you're more comfortable in your masculine energy, that's fine. But what I want to touch on with what Nicole just said is that in that masculine energy, if you're wanting a masculine energetically bound man, then you have to create the space to nurture and embody the feminine in order to attract that kind of individual. You need that masculine energy to do well in business, but it needs to allow for the space for someone else's masculine energy to enter into the relationship by embodying your feminine. Now, if you are a masculine energetically based woman, and that is where you're most comfortable, then it's fine to be with a man that embodies more feminine. We embody both energies. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And they say that men will have a percentage. So it might be a 30, 70%, it might be 40, 60, it might even be 20, 80 of how much feminine energy. And with men, it tends to be like static. It tends to be just who he is, how he was, like his DNA in a sense. Whereas women, we fluctuate. We go to the extremes. We have that ability. And sometimes that's what can make us kind of more complex, is that we can swing so extreme. And being able to balance it ourselves within us to be able to feel what we need. And when we're looking about feeling safe and adored and appreciated, we really want to be able to lean back. And to be able to lean back is that sense of safety and that comfort, which is in that masculine energy, that space. What I want to quickly just describe, even a visual, because sometimes people still don't quite understand what masculine and feminine look like. So I'm going to give a little bit even more description. Think of like masculine energy almost like a box. Like you can see some men when they walk in that masculine energy, they're kind of leaning forward, their back is straight, their head's up. It's like they're on a mission. They're just walking with purpose. They've got somewhere to go. They're somewhere they want to be. Where if you look at some of the more feminine energy, if a woman's really embodying her feminine energy, it's got this flowing movement. She like kind of starts moving her hips, her shoulders are back. She's very like kind of leaning back, taking in her whole environment, really embodying, smelling the flowers, slowing down, just kind of this slower feel. And so you have two of the different ways. So like that masculine energy is kind of like moving forward, getting things done. And that feminine energy is more soft, being present, being more like receptive, receiving. Just to kind of give a bit more clarity.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, if you think masculine energy, to put it really succinctly, is penetrative. It's penetrative. And absolutely. Feminine energy is receptive. I mean, that's why the two in union are so beautiful together. Yes. So I just want to make sure that as you're watching this evening, I invite you to jump in with any questions. We're here to answer them for you. The Love Talks is to be of service for you, and we're sharing lots of information, and it's probably going to go fast because both Nicole and I are very passionate about this topic. So feel free to pop your questions into the comments, and we'll put them up on screen and answer them as they go along. If you're feeling a little shy, which sometimes happens, you can always message us after the show, and we'll share details with you on how to do that. So we're talking all about the masculine and the feminine tonight. And so we're talking about how that energy can actually show up within us in our physicality as well. So even if you think of athletics, the bigger, bolder, the biologically sort of attractive male, if we're talking about gender, the large stature, they really feel the presence when they come into the room. And aesthetically, and aesthetics is actually a feminine energetic expression, is in the softness, is in the pretty colors, it's in the soft hair, it's in the softness of the body as well. Did you want to add something to that, Nicole?
I think that's really great. So a lot of times when I'm coaching my women, I tend to work with really, majority of women are very successful. I believe all women are. And we take on and we wear these hats of who we need to be in our world, in our work environments, and even in our home environment. And I think when we go into our dating life and into our relationships, we need what I call a transition period. We need some little space, a gap, to be able to transition out of that masculine mindset into this soft feminine. And when you're describing this like textures and softness, I have a lot of my women shift even out of their different wardrobe. So even whether it's putting on different shoes, putting on a scarf, maybe putting on some jewelry, that really will shift you, even just like in that little bit of physical ability to get your mind to shift into being in this softer place where you don't have to be taking charge. You don't have to be taking the lead. And sometimes we need that almost physical space. So when you're on a date, going on a date, I work from home. So when my partner comes home, I'm like, okay, I need to stop. I will like light a candle. I might put some new perfume on just so that I can change the state I'm in to be present. Otherwise, I'm still in this masculine energy. Like, where are we going? What's going on for date? Where are you taking me? Are you going to park here? Like, I'm taking the lead. I'm taking charge. Or I'll come home and like, did you make dinner? Like, what's the plan? And so it's being able to soften that to be able to be really present and being in the moment. And so finding ways that help you to get into your body and to connect to that energy.
Mm-hmm. And the feminine is, as you said earlier, is such a powerful energy that I think really in this day and age, it's taken for granted. I think what's happened with a lot of women is they've tried to compensate, overcompensate, in order to feel seen, and that even in society we have overlooked the feminine and the value in it, and that's why you see so much. Like pain and even destruction, and everything's about money, and money's a very money-driven masculine thing. I heard someone earlier, I was listening to a talk where they were talking about, everyone talks about the economy now, or what do you do for work, or, you know, heaven forbid someone asking flat out what you make, and it being a money-driven sort of mindset in society, globally even, and how we've lost touch with the feminine. So I love you creating that little window for them to almost really consciously make that transition into the feminine. Yeah. One thing as well is that men can actually sit down, and then as soon as they sit down, that's how they're able to decompress. That's how they're able to de-stress. Whereas women, we need to emote. So we need to come home and actually start share what's happened for our day, and it's just a download of the day, which helps emotionally transition to that feminine state as well. So the biggest gift that men can really give to us is be able to hold the space in order for us to share those things and do their best to fight the need, which is a masculine thing, which is to solve the things that we're sharing with them. And something to really be aware of when you're actually even dating. So let's talk about the feminine and the masculine energy and how it shows up on a date.
Yeah, I like what you said about how men need that space to decompress. Mm-hmm. And so an example of that would be, let's say he picks you up and he's on the way to drive and he's going to take you to the restaurant. And as women, we're all about connecting. That is our thing. We love to connect. We like to share stories. And so we're talking. We're like, oh, have you seen that along the way? And, oh, I've been then to that park. Have you been to the park? And we're trying really hard to connect with this guy. And he might be a little bit short. He might be a little bit abrupt, because in his mind, he's like, just got to get to the restaurant. Just got to get through this traffic. Need to get to the restaurant. So he's like so focused, so like linear and logical. And so that's what his mind is. And we're trying to interrupt that to like connect with him. And so sometimes you might feel this disconnect because he's not talking lots. And in his mind, he's just really focused on providing the result of getting us to the restaurant. And then once he's like found that parking spot, if us women haven't told him where to park, right? I have been massively guilty of that. Oh, there's a spot over there, right? Almost like not acting like I trust him. And then once he gets into that restaurant, you'll notice him finally like arrange things. So he'll take his jacket off, he'll sit down, he may move things around, and then he's like, and then he's present for us. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like an invitation that he's here, he's ready to like hold space. And as women, or for myself, I'll speak on, is I didn't understand that. And so the drive, I was like, man, I don't think that guy's into me. Like, I don't think he likes me. Like, he's so quiet. And man, he's kind of like abrupt and he's not really communicating. I'm sharing great stories, or I'm asking him questions to connect with him, and he's not really giving me much. And even when we get through the restaurant, I'm trying to figure out. And then all of a sudden he sits, he's ready, and he's like, so what do you want to order? And it kind of catches me off guard. I'm like, we're into this. Oh, we're talking now. And so it's learning these dynamics with men and women and this masculine and feminine energy, right? As women, we're wanting to connect. We want to be in the moment. And the masculine energy is all about ready to produce that result and get things happening. And so it's learning the differences and how to be okay with that. Mm-hmm. And not take over. For me, I've been the one who would take over, right? Here's where you should park. This is the restaurant we should go to. This is what we need to do. What time are you picking me up? Like, those are all very masculine things, because I want to feel a sense of control. I want to make sure things are going to happen. I want to know that my intentions are going to be met. And so it's taken a long time practicing leaning back and trusting that the man's going to show up and provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I think understanding these two things can be a huge empowerment tool with regards to your dating life, and also finding balance within a relationship as well. So isn't it funny that when we're feeling out of balance, like in a situation that you just described, we fall into our masculine. We then want to push back. So we've talked about understanding where he's coming from. Let's give maybe any of the guys that possibly are watching how he can connect in knowing that that's what women are most desiring. And really, we're dating to connect. I mean, this is the whole purpose of dating. So what way can he then garner some understanding or help with a level of connection that doesn't sacrifice his own masculine energy, but also acknowledges and welcomes hers?
Mm-hmm. Are you wanting me to answer that?
Yeah.
I'm like, come on, man, where are you? I don't want to for you. I will. But correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen. I'm totally open to this. What I tend to find with men, it's like, what I've learned is as a woman is to be able to say, even like, I'm not asking for your opinion or advice. I just want to share something with you. Even setting the tone of what I need in that moment helps him feel relaxed. Because I know he's looking to hear what I'm saying. He's looking to listen to the point. He's trying to figure out where this is going, what he needs to do with the information I'm sharing. And so if I can set the tone that I just want to share something with you, then that can help put him at ease, that he doesn't have to be so tentative looking to problem solve or give me advice or an opinion even. Could be a little bit of that. And just teaching or sharing what you need in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Oh, communication and asking for what you need is so key. And I think probably all of us need to do more of it. I have a wonderful story of that a guy had shared where he had, and it shows you about the two different sort of mindsets, where they had arranged a date. It was their first date. And when he showed up to pick up the woman, she was already waiting outside her front door. So his immediate thought was, oh, crap, am I late? So then he came out, parked, got out, came around, and she was already reaching for the door handle to get into the door. So then he's like, okay, well, now she's pissed. This is going, I failed already. So I failed there and I failed at the door. Now he's having an entirely different dialogue within his head because it's a performance thing, right? They want to do well. They want to be accepted. As much as we want to connect, men want to be accepted as well. So he gets into the car and, this whole story is now being created in his head, and he's wondering what's going on with her and what's the point. And I'm not going to bother pulling out her chair now or trying to offer suggestions about the restaurant because I don't want to be rejected again. And to his credit, he ended up bringing it up during the dinner. And of course, her experience was entirely different. She was concerned about inconveniencing him. So she had come down early and she said, you don't have to open my door. I can open my own door. And so he said to her quite clearly, he said, the front door, that's your door. And you can open that door. But every other door and moving forward, those are my doors. And I get to open those doors. And I get to open those doors because this is something that I want to do for you. Yeah. So are you okay with that? And she was like, well, yeah. Because, of course, here's this masculine energy coming forward, kind of taking charge and not acquiescing and stating, this is what I would like. Checking with her, but taking charge, which I think a lot of women want. And she was thrilled, and they ended up having an absolutely delightful date. So a perfect example of, not getting caught up in your head and telling a story that could be completely different than the other person's reality. Yeah. And having that level of understanding for each other, but also stepping into the energy that you want to embody in that moment. Yeah.
That's really good. That's a good segue. Talking about as much as we keep saying of who we want to attract into our life, and we want these strong men that take lead and take charge and be really the leader, are we as a woman going to show up for the type of man or the type of woman he wants to be with? And are we embodying that? So we have all these high expectations of the type of guy we want, but am I as a woman showing up as the kind of woman he would want to be with? And I think sometimes there's a bit of a disconnect. It's like, I want him to be really masculine and really strong. And so it's like saying the opposite. I heard a great quote or a speaker earlier this week, and she was saying that, like, well, would you want him to say, I want you to be more feminine than you are? And it's like we're telling each other what we want, but it's like, I already am that, right? And so would you want a man to be more feminine? Would you want him to be the more feminine type? And it's like, no, not at all. I want him to be who he is. Well, then we have to then embody that softer element to be able to balance it out and to be the type of woman that this strong, take lead kind of man want to be with.
Yeah, and I think, as we had mentioned earlier, in this day and age, women are having to embody so much of that masculine energy to get ahead and excel. I mean, you see it on Facebook and about boss lady this and boss lady that, and that's a masculine energy. Yeah. And these very successful, driven, exquisite women are embodying so strongly that they're masculine that they're getting frustrated, and I hear it often in their romantic and dating lives, because they're not attracting the kind of man that they want. So it's understanding that feminine isn't just wearing lipstick and a cute dress and having gorgeous hair. It's actually embodying that softness, being willing to drop that sort of heavy shield at times that the masculine energy can feel like, to actually share how you're feeling and emote and have a softness to you and be willing to receive. The don't open my door for me and I've got this is a clear message saying, I don't have space, nor do I need you, because I've got this handled. Yeah. Then in the same breath, you can't be asking that you want a man in your life, especially one that embodies such a strong masculine energy, if you're not creating the space for them in order for them to show up. Because the part of masculine energy is actually being of service, to do things for you, to be of use, to do things that you need. And really, a lot of the time, what guys just really want to hear is, can you help me with that? Or heaven forbid, you're right. That's right. Which is strong women were like, oh, I'm not telling him he's right. I don't even care if he's right. I'm not telling him he's right. Yeah. And we need to kind of drop that if we're wanting that kind of man in our life.
Absolutely. I think that's a really great point. And I think there's this element of, there's a somewhat fear that I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be soft. It's too risky. It's too scary. And I think then that's where we have this false sense of security in ourselves. And I tend to teach my women, it's like we have this marshmallow and we're all gooey on the inside with our emotions, and we don't feel very stable, and we're afraid we're going to get anyone too close because then they're going to get sticky and they're going to pull away our marshmallow and we're going to be left with all this goo. And so we build these walls, like these brick walls, to protect ourselves. And we don't let anyone really in. And I say, we need to do the opposite. We really want to be this strong, confident woman in our worth and our value and be grounded in that, but be marshmallowy on the outside. Be yummy, be delicious, be sweet and gooey, because that's where you're going to resonate. That's what draws men in, is that softness, and not to lose that sense of self-worth and what your values are, but have it more on the inner side, not as a protectiveness.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's talk about strengthening and actually what fully embodying the feminine looks like. Because again, some of those words I hear them sometimes. I'm like, they can feel like they're not as powerful, but actually feminine energy is the power source of everything. Masculine energy cannot exist without feminine energy. We talk about the yin and the yang, right? This is the balance. And really it's about creating that balance within us to be balanced individuals as well. So being able to put that work hat on, like you spoke about earlier, and then being able to have the softness for not only your romantic relationships, but for your children and for your friendships as well. There is power in the feminine energy. So how or what sort of things we'll start with the gals, that women can be doing to be embodying more of that feminine energy, or even like 3 little tips that they can start nurturing in order, and there's that word right there, nurturing it in order to, to embody it more.
Okay, so that's a great question. I think we can talk all theory, but the reality is it's practical. And so when you think about that feminine energy, you really want to think about it as being receptive, being able to receive. And so it's kind of like you're leaning back and then the masculine comes in. And so it's this leaning back and forth. And we really want to be able to receive. And so my challenge for you ladies, and I would love to hear you on the Facebook after this in the next 3 days, tell me how it goes. My challenge for you this week is to say yes. And what I mean by that is when someone asks for you if they can help you, can I help you with your bag? Can I help you with that door? Can I help you lift this? You're going to say yes, even though you know you can do it. I know you can do it. You probably all go to the gym so you can do it. It's not the point. We really want to be able to be more receptive. And receptive means being able to receive what someone's doing for us, even if we know we can do it ourselves. It's not a showing of whether we're strong enough. It's more of saying of, yes, thank you, I'm grateful. Because the more we do that, the more that masculine energy is going to show up even greater. And it's going to show up. So it's a practice to be able to receive it. And that's the most simplest way. And I would love to know where you said yes to, and even what it felt like.
Well, can we even add to that challenge, Nicole? Let's add to it and say, instead of just saying yes, let's ask for help. Ask for help?
Yeah, love it.
Can you help me with this? I mean, especially you single gals, which I'm assuming that predominantly are watching us tonight. But if you're in a relationship, asking your partner for help as well. Can you help me with this?
Yeah.
What a great way to start an interaction with someone in a coffee shop or anywhere else or at a grocery store. Excuse me, do you mind helping me with this? And when was the last time that you asked for help? I'd love to hear in the comments. When was the last time you asked for help and who were you asking? Yeah. And what does asking for help sort of elicit inside you? Is it like immediate anxiety or does it kind of excite you? I'd love to hear about that as well. We've got a quiet crew out there.
Absolutely. For me, I have a story about that. I really struggled for a long time, and it even showed up recently, about feeling like I was imposing. And I had trained myself or learned along the way that if I could be this really independent woman that could take care of her shit, I'd be really desirable. And men would want me because I am like easygoing. I'm not asking for a lot. I've got it taken care of. And so I had developed this sense of like, I don't want to put myself out there and make you think I'm needy. So I had it all backwards, like so backwards. And so got clear on it. And it wasn't too long ago, almost just last year. It was so funny. I went to a party and it was late and I had walked there and it was quite a distance of a walk. But I'm that girl working it, not a problem. And it's now like 11:30 midnight and the party ends. And the guy said, oh, you know what? I can drive you home, like no problem. And I was like, oh no, I'm good, I got it. I don't mind walking, it's not that far. And then he's like, no, I really like to, I don't mind driving you home, it's on my way. And I was like, well, no. I turned it down like twice. And then finally said yes. And then I said, you can just drop me off here. You don't have to drop me off at my address. Like you can drop me off on the way to the
house. A little bit.
Yeah, like, no, I really don't mind, it's not that far. And I was like, okay. And in that moment, I realized, oh my God, when I got out of the car and said thank you after, I was like, I killed that moment. I literally killed it because I said it like twice at the house. I don't need it. I finally said yes. And then even in the car, I was like, no, don't drop me off all the way. And I ruined a really great moment with that guy who all he wanted to do was be a protector and a provider. And in that sense, really just make me happy in that moment, feel safe. And I was so determined to prove that I got it that I ruined that moment. And instead of being grateful and just saying, thank you, that's so kind of you, or that's so thoughtful, I fought it and kind of dissolved what could have been beautiful.
Yeah. Well, great to be able to reflect on that and take it as a lesson, which we should be doing quite often in our dating lives. If things don't go well, reflect and look for the gifts. So Victoria has hopped on and she says, this is a huge challenge for me. So much anxiety asking for help, even though I know my husband doesn't mind and wants to help. Men want to help, ladies. Yeah. They want to be of service. They not only want to help, but they want to be appreciated for helping. I remember even being like a little girl and my mom, if my dad's watching, hi Dad, that they were new in their romance. He's my stepfather, but he raised me, and he would do something really lovely for us. My mom would be like, just go give him a hug and say thank you. And I just railed against it. No, I don't want to. And all he wanted was just to be appreciated for something that he had very thoughtfully done for us. Thank God I've learned that lesson. but some of us still don't. It's like, I am woman, hear me roar. I don't need a man's help. Well, then you better be comfortable with not needing a man or having a man in your life, because that's why they're here, is to love us and to be of service. And
their DNA.
Yeah, it's biologically how they are built. And we as women embody that as well. So we've talked about how the feminine can show up. We've laid down a challenge for you gals out there. Let's talk about the guys. How can the guys nurture the feminine energy that resides within them? Because they've been kind of rough ride. I mean, there's a wonderful documentary, which I'll share in the event page after, which is you know, I've always sort of known that men are raised and don't cry and, you know, buck up and don't be a girl and things like that. And that they aren't as welcomed to emote and show their sensitive side in growing up. It's something they were sort of taught to stamp down. But this documentary shows it all in one snapshot and talks about everything from professional sports to the business world to within the family dynamic. And I think I watched the whole thing with my mouth agape the whole time, which gave me more perspective. So I encourage everyone to check that out after. But where guys don't really get the invitation in order to show their femininity, and that even that word can elicit a bit of a I'm not feminine, that feminine is girly in some way and attached to a gender as opposed to being this powerful energy, and that can serve them so well even in their business life. Do you want to speak to that a bit, and how we can give guys a little bit of a snapshot of understanding of what really embodying feminine energy as a man looks like?
Yeah. So that's a really great place to segue in, is that idea about how men can go there. And I think there's a little bit to it where it's like the idea of, if you think about it more as like being heart-centered or heart-based, could be another way to look at it. And when you're looking at that and having men, it's like a man being able to share his feelings, giving him space. But you have to remember, for a man to be willing to share his space, he has to feel safe. Men don't, they even use the word pry. They don't pry information out of each other. They will only wait until a man wants to share something and divulge that information, but they won't pry it out. It's us women that do it. We're like, how are you feeling? What did he say at that party? What did you mean you don't know? Like, we are the ones that are pulling the information out. And so for him to be in that feminine space, for him to feel really safe to want to share, to really want to reveal who he is. And for us women to create that is to really acknowledge who he is and appreciate it, and really just be patient in when he's communicating and not interrupting him and not assuming we know his answers or what he thinks. That's part of it. The other element, I think, is also just letting him almost be in the moment with us. And as women, we really elicit that. And because we're very easily in the moment and we're very much connected to almost more of a spiritual aspect, like we can tap in very quickly. And through us, he has that ability to tap into it with us. And so we almost elicit this feminine energy out of him. We almost pull it out because of who we are and how we engage with him, and our excitement and our curiosity and our energy and our creativity, and that it pulls him into that moment with us. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question, but I'm saying just kind of like who we are as a women really, I say, creates the gateway for men to feel on a deeper level.
Yeah, and I think, you know, you spoke to safety, which I think both sexes desire, but definitely feminine energy creates and holds the space for that safety because it's receptive. Listening, receptivity, nurturing, holding the space, and being able to just listen and allow what they're sharing to land where it is, as opposed to possibly being reactive or making it wrong. It's being able to hold the space for that. All of that is very nurturing feminine energy. And men being able to do that for women when they want to download their day and disconnect and not, rush in with the quick fix, and holding the space to be receptive as well and listening to their partner and just empathize. Like, that's really shitty that happened, or I totally get why you feel that way, is an embodiment of that feminine energy. It doesn't have anything to do with pink. It just has to do with the receptivity and the nurturing and really loving aspect of it. And you talked about spirituality, and that's so huge, because that's really where this masculine and feminine energy is derived from, is from our spirituality. And the spiritual side of things is truly the embodiment of the feminine. Did you want to speak to that at all?
Yeah. So when you look at that femininity, they say a lot that as women, we have a lot of that feminine energy, and it's almost like we have, like internet, and there was like the slow dial. I don't even know the words anymore, but you had like speed, like the internet, high speed internet, and then you had dial up. As women, we have like the speed internet. We have, like the 5 cable. Like, we have quick, instant connection. And men almost is like a dial up. It's slower. It takes a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so there's this sense that as women, we don't necessarily understand why men aren't as connected, or maybe as even in that world of awareness or self-awareness. And it's just because as a feminine energy, that is totally, without being too spiritual, quite connected to source, to a higher power. And so as women, we tend to have the ability to be really self-aware in that, or dive into that with a lot more ease or vulnerability to it, where men are a little bit more, they're there, definitely, but it may take a little bit to open them up to that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So how can both men and women practice nurturing their feminine energy? What are some great ways to do that? I know the first one that comes off the top of my head is self-care, and not masculine self-care, which is I'm going to shove 15 minutes of yoga into this window between my workday. It's actually slowing down and doing something that nurtures your being. That could be meditation, that could be yoga, that could be a bath, that could be anything that's really taking care of you. You actually nurturing yourself. What sort of things would you add to that?
I would agree. Into that feminine energy. I would also say it's a little bit of like tapping into your 5 senses. And so another challenge you could throw to us ladies is like being aware this week of your 5 senses. And that'll help you to be really present and in the moment. So tomorrow it could be all about touch. So be really conscious of touching different materials and fabrics when you walk across something, the texture. Because the idea is you want to be in your body. Connect your body will help you be in this feminine space. It's slowing down. It might be taste the next day. So drink your latte really slow. Savor that moment. The next one might be sight. So it might be like really looking around and seeing what you see for the first time. Maybe it's the way the lights sparkle on the wall, or the carpet that's in your office floor that you're like, oh, I've never noticed that pattern. Right? The idea is you just really want to slow down. And when you're in that, you're more present. You're more willing to be receptive, willing to receive what's going on around us. And when we're in that masculine energy, which we need to, don't get me wrong, it's super important. What happens though is we miss a lot of that. We miss what's happening because we're so focused on the end result. We're so focused to the outcome. We're so focused on making these things happen that we sometimes miss the peripheral. And so it's allowing you to take a moment to shift and be aware of what's happening. And it almost requires a little bit of practice, like being conscious for a day to like make this a priority and test it. And so that'll help you start being more I guess that word, embodying it, being more consciously aware of it. And then that'll also, if I may add, help you on your dates and in your dating world, right? Because it helps you to be like slowing down, being really present, instead of trying to figure out what to say next, or where's this date going, or does he like me? Like, that's all masculine energy. And what happens is when we're in a date and we're conversing, the way a man connects with us is through our heart center, right? This is that feminine energy. It's that receptivity, right? It's here. But as soon as we start overanalyzing, we all of a sudden, we go up into our head. And now we're thinking and we're analyzing, what should I say next? What did he mean by that? He just looked at that waitress. Does that mean I'm not pretty? He likes her instead? Oh, he lives way out there? Oh my God, how would we ever get to each other? Oh my God. Like, we're over analyzing the first, second, third date of where this future could go, or does he fit our checklist, or does he fit what I'm looking for, that we miss being in the moment. We miss being in the body, and we disconnect the opportunity to connect with each other. And that is essential. And so when you have a lot of men say, I just didn't connect, I just didn't feel for her, she's really beautiful, but I just didn't feel it, it's because we as women aren't creating the space for him to feel us, because we're too much in our head. We're up here thinking, analyzing, and being anxious. So my thought is if I can help you before you go on that date to get more in your body, to get more comfortable feeling, slowing down, being aware, it'll help you when you're in your date to do that. Whether it's like putting your hands on the table and just being like, here I am, right? Or wiggling my toes. Or sometimes I would just do a little, smell my perfume, right, on my wrist. It's whatever it takes you to feel back into your body and out of your head.
Yeah, presence is huge. So practicing mindfulness is definitely a way to tap into it as well. And really, as you're talking, I'm thinking how decadent to be on a date where you're wearing like, for a guy, he could be wearing a cashmere sweater, and for a woman, she could be wearing a silk dress. So being very present to how, even sensually, how these things feel on the body, to connect to your body. I think I spoke on another Love Talks about how Eckhart Tolle teaches this wonderful thing that if you get stuck in your head, how to bring yourself back into your body is to just pay attention to how like your fingertips feel running along your skin. And anyone's running their hands along their skin is going to make me pay attention on a date. I don't know about any of you, but all neat and wonderful little tips and tricks in order to step into that. And feminine energy is so key when you're on a date, because that is about connection. Yeah. So that if you can play this beautiful sort of back and forth and being receptive to each other and staying present in the moment, just think of all the magical things that can happen.
Yeah.
But ladies, really leaving the space for a man to embody his masculine, give him the space to be the masculine energy in that pairing on a date. Take it easy, sit back and allow the planning to take place. Now, some guys' ears might be perking up and thinking, hey, I don't want to have to plan everything all the time. That's when you get into understanding sort of the union and the balance between the two. It is said that the masculine and the feminine needs to find balance within each of us, that it is a gender-free thing. It's about us embodying and nurturing both of them within us that allows us to come together in a lovely union between the two of us. So I think that we live in such a masculine-dominated world. It's key learning these little things in order for people to start becoming more aware. Awareness is key. Wouldn't you say, Nicole?
Oh my gosh, so much. And I think that awareness is essential to know that it's valuable and that it's not about being weak or needy or too emotional, right? As soon as you get to see that this is super powerful, it's amazing, because as a woman, when the more we embody or feel really confident being in this feminine space to receive, men will want to adore us. They're going to want to serve us, because in return, we love them back and acknowledge what they're doing, and we feel grateful for what they're doing. So it's like this repetitive circle, like he wants to do more and I'm acknowledging more, and I get more of what I want because he feels good for giving it to me. it's a cycle. And so it's being okay with that. And so first is that awareness and being able to tap into it and playing in it to feel good in it. And it definitely takes practice. Believe me, I know this, and I'm still like, oh yeah, right. I totally just squished his meat, or I totally forgot he was just trying to be helpful or trying to make me happy in that moment. And so it's getting out of my own way in this sense. And I've really had to learn that I'm not imposing and that I can take up space, because then he'll hold it and that it's okay. So yeah, I think it is a lot of that. Awareness and practice. It would be the two words I put together.
I think it's much like anything in our lives. It's being mindful of what it is that we desire, and then taking the steps and doing the action in order to keep that balance and those things that we desire alive. It's not unlike having a garden or going to the gym. You don't just get buff and fit and then you're that way forever. And we have outside influences. We live in a very, as I said, masculine-dominated world. So it's almost up-leveling our frequency with regards to how our feminine is residing in our bodies for both women and for men. I'd love to hear from, we've had some great people watching this evening. Some people have popped in and said, hi, sorry I'm late. And you're never late. You can always watch a replay, and we're always happy to have you here, Jessie. Gals, I'd love to hear if you have any questions that have come up, and take advantage of both Nicole and I being on this evening. If there's been situations where you can see where maybe embodying more of your feminine energy, or even how your masculine energy serves you in your day-to-day life, were you already aware of these energies? How are they showing up in your life, or how can you see they will benefit you in your dating life? Because that's really the key and the crux of what we're talking about tonight. Not only understanding what they are, but how having that awareness can serve us better in our dating life and eventually in our romantic lives as well.
Yeah. One thing to learn. Any questions? So one thing too is, because as women, we tend to want to take control. We tend to want to know where things are going and make things happen. And I think that's okay, ladies. It's knowing the intention behind it. Is it out of fear that if we don't make things happen, he's going to lose interest in us, or that we need that sense of security? So check in with yourself. And the other thing is when we're wanting to make things happen, can you initiate but then step back? Meaning, like, instead of initiating the date and then planning the date and then making the date occur and then organizing the reservations and picking it up, and what if you just said, yeah, I would love to go on a date. What about, like, I would love to go here either for sushi or Italian, and then let him take the rest, right? So it's encouraging him that you want to do something. It's encouraging him that you're interested, but you're now leaning back and letting him now take the lead instead of making that whole process happen. And a lot of times men just need some direction. Men just need to know what we want to be happy. And the more we know what we want and we're comfortable with asking for it, remember back to that challenge, they'll provide that, right? We assume he should know. He should know. And a lot of times they don't. And we need to help them with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alice says, I'm surrounded by men at my work, and I constantly see how they want to help and serve and work for points, and it makes me appreciate them so much more. Makes me feel safe to ask for help and show up as myself. That's brilliant.
Love it.
Because, yeah, that's them exerting and living within that masculine energy, and it doesn't always get appreciated. So the fact that you can see that is absolutely brilliant. And then if you can transition that also to your romantic life, well, you're ahead of a lot of us out there in being able to do that. And that's such a great point, Nicole, is being able to give direction but not take over. Because the pursuant, that pursuant energy is a masculine energy. So if you're chasing someone, it's actually not a desirable trait that men are really looking for in a woman if they want that feminine energy. You're the receptive. I love that we had a discussion not too long ago with my Connect Vancouver group and saying, you know, how do we drop the hint? How do we create that safe space for even someone to approach you on the street or potentially even online? And well, once upon a time, women did the handkerchief thing, and you can still do it now, minus the handkerchief, which is they would walk by someone that they were interested in, and they would create opportunity by dropping their handkerchief, and the gentleman would run over and say, that's his opening. Excuse me, miss, you dropped this. And then he could step into that energy and be the pursuant and ask the date and initiate the conversation. So we can still do that in this day and age. It can happen by, walking by and making direct eye contact and a smile, or initiating sort of silent conversation from across the room, and then holding the space for them when they have the chutzpah to come up and speak to us. We forget how much it can be intimidating. No one likes rejection, least of all men. So if you are wanting to be approached, you need to create that receptive space and be kind and nurturing when they come up. Then you can make a decision after that happens. But give the space for the guys to show up and acknowledge them, how beautifully, how Allah recognizes what it is that they're doing when they do it. It doesn't have to be yes or no. Prince Charming doesn't have to walk up and be all that in a bag of chips for you to still not be kind when he steps into that space.
Right.
Which I think we get a little fearful sometimes. It's like, don't talk to me.
Yeah, I love that. I think that is so essential. I love it. Absolutely, that we as women need to create these opportunities and really create space for men to do that. And a lot of what I teach my women is to what I call the exit strategy. Is it okay if I do a bit of a segue real quick?
Sure.
The idea is that I think as women, if we aren't comfortable with the exit, it's really uncomfortable then to drop the handkerchief per se. And what I mean by the exit is knowing that we're not attached to the outcome. And like Andrea was saying, we can bring someone over and we can start a conversation, but we are not attached to it and how it goes. And that we can exit out and feel comfortable without feeling we owe anything in return. And the more we feel comfortable exiting, the more comfortable we'll be dropping these handkerchiefs or creating opportunities for men to approach us. And so getting comfortably say, oh, thanks so much for coming and talking to me. Thanks so much for helping me with this. Thanks for that compliment. And I'm going to continue on, or I'm going to the bathroom, or I'm going to go see my girlfriends over here, or thank you very much. Have a great evening. I appreciate that. The and lets you out. But the first part is thanking them for their initiative, thanking them for making that effort, taking the risk. And the and is your exit, right? And so the idea is the more comfortable you get with that, the more you'll be okay to create opportunities for them to present and to engage with men and not feel you can't and get all nervous.
Yeah, and it's honoring. I mean, so often I think we can bring more kindness into how we connect with people in our dating lives. And I think that is a very kind way to exit a situation, that you're acknowledging the other person. We're all just human beings. So if you can do that and create that space, then not only does it speak of you as an individual, but it's also respectful of them, and also emboldens them to know that they can go to the next person who could be their match, connection, and that it's going to be a much more enjoyable experience. I would love everyone to date with more kindness. I think that's a great place to sort of wrap things up tonight. We could talk about this until the cows come home, couldn't we, Nicole?
Oh my gosh.
So my greatest wish is that everyone has a deeper understanding of the masculine and the feminine, and how it shows up not only within yourself, but also within your day-to-day life. We have encouraged you to up-level your awareness and how it maybe sits within you just now. If you do a little checklist in how you show up in different areas and spaces in your life, definitely in your romantic life, but at work and at home too. And I've given you some great little tips on how to embolden or nurture those different energies. Really the feminine that's not necessarily getting the most attention from either the men or from the women, and little things like self-care and mindfulness and practicing presence can help embolden that energy in you, which I think will serve you well in your relationship. Nicole, I know you've got some exciting things coming up. Would you like to go ahead and share those with everyone that's listening?
Yeah, Absolutely. So if any of you are curious to know more, I have a program. It's a 5-week program, and it's all about called Dating Smarter. The title will be called Dating Confident with Confidence. So check on the website. The title will change in the next couple of days, but the premise of it is really understanding the dynamics of how to understand men, how to date with more confidence in knowing the different processes. Men and women date so differently, and we don't necessarily understand that and what it all means. So definitely jump on that. Please jump in on the Facebook page, Nicole Talks Love, or send me an email if you want more questions. I would love to offer those who are on a 30-minute consultation if you're curious, if you have questions that you're like, but that did, I don't, what? Definitely. And plus, ladies, I would love, and men, know how you asked. Please, I love that challenge. I really want to see what you ladies are up to and asking for help, saying yes, and knowing what you're going to do to embody this week your more femininity. Share with us. It really encourages each other, and you're supporting each other without even realizing it, knowing that you're not alone in this journey. Believe me, I've been in there and I still have my moments. So this is a process. So be gentle on yourself. There's no right or wrong to this, and you're on your way of really tapping into it.
Yeah, that's so key, Nicole. Sharing and processing is actually a feminine, energetic experience. So we encourage you to do that within the event page so we can both be there to support you. Nicole's website and her upcoming information will be shared right within the event page, so it's easy to find. You are directly attached to my Facebook business page, so it's easy to find me there, and I will share any information with my upcoming Ignite course, which is really all about how to date with grace and ease. I thank you so much again, Nicole, for being on tonight. This is a wrap to Love Talks for February. But rumor has it, Love Talks might pick up again once a month starting this April, and I might just have a man on with me. So stay tuned for those details. And thank you so much for being on this evening. Good night, everyone. Big love.